Are preseason polls stupid? The sexiest week one matchup, and who's your Heisman favorite? It is time to get the squad together.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up. You're part of the SEC squad.
Oh, yeah. Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready for another week. Counting you down to the start of an all-new SEC football season. Let's welcome in our panel. We've got Jay Smith, host of Locked On Sooners. You got Stephen Willis, host of Locked On Ole Miss. We got Luke Robinson, Locked On Bama. Corey Burton, Locked On Vandy. John Miller, Locked On Mizzou. And Chris Marler, Locked On Gamecocks. I'm Chris Gordy, host of Locked On SEC. And fellas, we got our first preseason coaches poll released this week. Not too many surprises in the rankings, probably about what we thought, but general thoughts on what you saw. As we saw Texas coming at number 1, Georgia at number 4, Bama 8, LSU 9. Kind of consensus, those are the 4 best teams, at least in most people's minds, going into the season. But again, this is from the coaches. What'd you make of the rankings?
Oklahoma plays 7 of those teams this season.
Ooh,
but that's always interesting for me to see, because we've got, as everybody reminds me on a regular basis, that the Sooners have one of the toughest schedules in college football. We'll see if it looks like that mid-season. We'll address it at that point. But no, I thought it was interesting. Expected Texas. Everybody's been hyping either Texas or Penn State. Georgia at 4 was fascinating because it feels like a lot of people are jumping off of the Georgia train. I guess because of the Gunnar Stockton switch in, and they just was not as sexy as they thought it would be. Plus all the NFL players that they lost in this most recent draft. But we act like that's not something we act like that's something new, as if that doesn't happen like year in and year out since Kirby Smart's been there. We should expect Georgia to constantly lose players and reload. So them being at 4 was a little bit lower than I would have probably put. I still feel like they should be in the top 3 until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I thought Ohio State being national champions, they probably should have been number 1 coming in, just because, I mean, they reload, they're national champs, so like until they get knocked off, like, you know, leave them there at that spot. Penn State being above Georgia and being above Texas, I guess I'm not sure. I'm with that. I think you put them at 4, and you know Georgia is up there. I like Notre Dame there at 5. I think they got some potential there. Bama at 8 seems pretty intriguing. Jay, you said y'all play a bunch of those teams on the schedule. Vandy plays 5 of these teams in this top 25, so that's going to be a lot of fun too.
Man, SMU, Arizona State, both in the top 16. You got Penn State number 3. Holy recency bias! What are we talking about here? I mean, Illinois too as well, number 12. I'm sure one of those teams will be probably a playoff contender, but really all 4 of them, that just seems like a stretch to me. That's my first initial reaction.
It's like becoming a prisoner of the moment, and whoever just like wants to read like blue blood stuff. It's like they had a baby, an evil baby, and they came together and they're like, you know what? Hey, who did Ohio State beat, by the way, Corey, last year on their way to that national championship? Was it Texas?
It was Texas.
And Texas number 1. Have you guys heard about Texas? Texas is the best. Have you guys heard about Texas? Gordy, have you heard about Texas?
Rumor has it.
Have you guys heard about Texas? Oh, man.
They've never had a down season in the past 10 years. It's going to be great.
They haven't played a game since January, and Ohio State somehow at number 2. I don't like that. Penn State, I've decided, is just Jurassic Park. But in football form. Like, how many times do we have to see this movie? How many times you went to an island and there was a bunch of prehistoric predators on the island and they attacked you? That's crazy. Penn State went 10-2 and didn't win a national championship. Crazy. And the last thing I'll say is for my buddy John Miller here, Mizzou being snubbed at all with what they have coming back, with what they did in the portal and everything else. That is mind-blowing to me. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be because Mizzou just seems to get the short of the stick on a lot of stuff, but that's crazy.
I agree with you, especially with Missouri's transfer class. I mean, if the quarterback is even slightly above average, Mizzou is going to be a college football playoff contender, I think, at the least.
Who in the top 10 is the team that's going to be this year's Florida State, where they're ranked in the top 10, but they fall out
There's two
over
teams.
the course of the season.
There's two teams every year in
on
the
that watch.
Yes, two teams in the preseason polls every year that in the top 10 always fall out. The question is, who will be the two this year that would disappoint? Because Michigan and Florida State last year. Now I'm wondering about who's going to be this year.
It's going to be 8 through 10. It's one of
There are 3 top 10 matchups on the first weekend, which is pretty cool. The second weekend ain't quite as much fun, but they were talking about this on Sirius XM this morning that like there is some streak of a top 10 team in the preseason. At least one is unranked by the end of the season. Mm-hmm. But you know, a lot of people hate the preseason rankings, but I just think that you can't stop them. It's a lot like this, like the bowl games. Everybody goes, we should get rid of these bowl games. What you have is a city or a sponsor that says we want 2 teams to play. We know it's not for a championship. We just want to pay them, and they come in, we sponsor it, and put it on TV. Why do you want to stop that? I mean, it's just there's no harm to it.
It makes the
good. I was going to say, allow me to peel back the curtain just slightly. I'll promise you this: the very second that the AP poll and the coaches poll stopped doing a top 25, and even before that, guess who's going to put out on their own? The Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to be talking about it
ownership
for all of June and July and August. So I just don't. I want to be consistent here.
That's
and to even add to that, though, I think for me, when it comes to why I don't like preseason polls, is we put too much weight on them when it comes to the playoff brackets, right?
Exactly,
the playoff polling.
Yes.
That's the thing I don't like. I don't think polling should matter.
Like week 8.
I think about week 4, you should start caring, because around week 4, you got an idea of teams' identities. At least they played at least one game that looks like it matters, and you start to get an understanding of what the molding is. I'd say end of September, that last weekend, or October's first weekend, that's when those polling, your actual rank at that point, that's when it should matter.
Yeah, the AP poll is so dumb, we shouldn't have it. Now, Gordy, pull up that top 100 players coming into this year, if you would.
Exactly. Thank you.
And by the way, though, your point about the preseason poll carrying too much weight for the playoffs, that's fine and all. But if that was actually true, Indiana and SMU would nowhere near be there.
Well, I'll say this to defend the preseason polls. Like, people are like, we don't know who's good. We kind of do, right? We have a general consensus on who's going to be good.
Sure.
It's not like we completely missed the mark and go, God, we picked 25 teams that they all totally suck. True. Like, what were we thinking? Like, they generally are the best team, end up being the best teams. But to your point, like we said, there's 1 or 2 that's going to shock us and not be great. But, like, look at the first 7 teams on this list. They were all playoff teams a year ago. So you're just picking up where we left off.
The coaches poll, fine. I'm fine with the coaches poll. Now, in the season, you're not going to sit here and convince me ever that Dabo Swinney is staying up late and watching SMU play or Boise State on a Friday night or whatever else. And neither is Kirby, neither is any of them. I will tell you this. The people complaining the most about the AP polls and the polls themselves are media members. And guess who has a vote in the AP poll? Media members. So maybe do your jobs better because, Gordy, I love what you're saying. I don't disagree with you entirely. And maybe last year's an anomaly. But 13 of the 25 teams from last year's preseason top 25 finished unranked. And maybe the problem is, even in a year where you see Michigan coming off a national championship, when they lose half the coaching staff, all their best players, all those people to the league, a new head coach, and you have all this turnover that they have not had to experience with a first-year head coach and that schedule, I don't know. Maybe you don't put them in the top 10 like a moron.
Yeah, I think Gordy had a good point about you kind of do know who's good. Now, sometimes we factor in like, okay, they also won last year and they're a traditional power like we did with Michigan last year. But common sense should have told everybody Michigan's not going to take a step back. But it's like you don't go to – if you want to go to the Gentleman's Club by the airport, it's going to look worse than the one that is downtown in the nice, bright, shiny building.
That Tuesday lunch shift is not great, Luke.
Spoken
at the airport,
from experience.
It's rough. But I'll tell you, hey, Angel, I'll see you next week.
She ain't watching. Not this week.
So again, but to the point though, like if Michigan won the championship, don't we we all said that about Michigan going to last year. Like, look, they're going to take a major step back, but don't you kind of owe it to the reigning champ to kind of you can't not rank the reigning national champ, right?
But the other 12 teams that they ranked in the preseason and finished unranked, at some point, like, take the job seriously. Stop being so blinded by your own bias and be objective. Like, I know that sounds crazy, and I know there's probably trolls from other conferences like watching this right now. It's like, well, you guys are being biased. It's like, fine. But at the same time, there's the discrepancy and disparity between all these different teams where it's like you saw last year, Bama was ranked like 21st at times last year. South Carolina was ranked in the 20s when other people had them ranked like right outside the top 10. It's like, how do we have that big of a difference? And you run your name or you run the line over right next to their name because Reddit CFP puts it out every week. And it's like some moron from, I don't know, South Bend Gazette is like, well, here's what I think. And it's just littered with teams around that region. Just do your job better. It's simple.
Well, but that's the problem for the AP voters. Like if you cover Penn State, you're at the stadium all day. You're not watching it. When do you have time to watch Bama,
don't
Tennessee?
Have a vote.
You know,
give that vote. It's not like everyone's like, give the vote that someone's going to pay attention. I don't care. Give it to Spencer McLaughlin. We give him all that stuff.
Hey, and I think that
Utah will be ranked number 1.
I think that we put too much responsibility on these supposed ball knowers of what's going on. And this era of the transfer portal and what's going on, they're still stuck in the old system of college football. Yeah. Hey, let's get Notre Dame ranked in the top 5. They're going to be good surely this year. You know, that type of stuff is going on. And with the transfer portal and the volatility of college football, it doesn't work that way now.
And the rankings reflect that too, because it's so volatile. Nobody knows who's going to be good and what transfers are going to hit and what transfers aren't going to hit. So, yeah, it makes sense that 13 teams become unranked at the end of the year from the preseason because we just don't know. It's an inexact science of projecting transfers. And when you lose a lot of transfers like Michigan did and some of these
go Noles.
Yeah, go Noles. And you take a risk and you're not sure how DJ Ongulale is going to perform.
Well done.
Yeah, nothing at Clemson told us that was going to happen.
Well, I'll just say this too. Real quickly. Sorry, Gordy. I'll just say the 4 versus 12. The whole back to the discussion of how much do the preseason rankings matter. That's where I think the 12. I think that is a feature of the 12-team playoff, a positive one, which is it makes the preseason rankings matter a little bit less. Sorry, Gordy.
Well, look, we've got some juicy matchups coming in week 1. Which game is the squad looking forward to most? The SEC squad. Talking more ball next.
Tan.
Hey, and speaking of week 1, fellas, we have got some big week 1 matchups, and you can bet on them all over at FanDuel.com. All the sexy matchups, FanDuel, they have got you covered. FanDuel's had you covered all summer long, whether it's been golf, baseball, whatever you're betting on. FanDuel is the best way for you to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. You're already watching the game. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get on the game while your friends are off doing whatever the hell they're doing. And look, we've been using FanDuel for a while to track our favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. So whether you're placing a same-game parlay or just betting on your team to cover the spread in week 1, they've got it for you up there at FanDuel.com. The best part, if you're new to FanDuel, if you've never used them before, new customers, you can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Those week 1 lines, we're talking about them next right here on Locked on SEC.
Definitely betting against my rival.
SEC squad, roll along here, guys. And week 1, it is just 3 weeks away here, basically, as we do this show. And there are some good matchups in the SEC in week 1. I'm curious, and we'll go around the horn here. Which matchup are you looking most forward to? It could be your own team, or it could be one of the other intriguing matchups from the week. Steven, well, let's start with you. Which matchup intrigues you most?
Auburn at Baylor on Friday, October 29th. I don't think that Hugh Freeze even realizes the cauldron that they're going to walk into at McLean Stadium at Baylor. This is a chance for a Big 12 team to host an SEC school. They better have their big boy pants on because it's going to be a war out there.
Shots fired from Waco. I love it.
Yeah, I'm the Waco one. That one's got my attention. But you know what?
That's a different meaning.
You know what game that I think that we're not talking enough about is Syracuse, Tennessee.
Yes.
Down there in Atlanta. We're not talking about that game enough. Look, Fran Brown has been doing a fantastic job of not only recruiting, but getting solid transfers to go up there to Syracuse. And man, I know Tennessee right now what FanDuel's got them as a 14-point favorite, 14 and a half. That feels way too high for a neutral site game for a team like Syracuse, who didn't they win like 10 games last year?
They looked really good at times last year. Also, by the way, have you seen the stat about Tennessee? 49% of their overall roster this year is a freshman or redshirt freshman. That's young. I love that call, Jay.
They're babies. They're babies. That game is going to be interesting because I think Syracuse is a little bit more veteran in comparison. It's going to be a fun one.
No, Syracuse won. Hitting them too.
Syracuse won their bowl game 10-3 season, and yeah, look, I met Fran Brown back in January, and I fell in love with the dude. Like you talk to him for a few minutes, you're like, I want to send my kid to play for this guy. So maybe he's a future SEC coach coming, but yeah, I'm with you. And that one with all the question marks at quarterback, Joey Aguilar, do they get it right? Whatever. That who knows? Not putting them on upset alert just yet, but maybe in 3 weeks we will. Luke, what matchup intrigues you most?
I think it's hard to get away from Texas, Ohio State. The only reason I will get away from it is because it's at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I just hate that time. I mean, I just don't get it. I just hate it. But it is a great game. It's 1 versus 2 to start off. That's fantastic. But I think the most intriguing game is the Battle of Death Valley, Clemson, LSU. You've got Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier, who a lot of people would have as the two of the favorites to win the Heisman. I think that one's going to be awesome. And then again, the rematch next year is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking to that one. And kudos to them for scheduling this game and making them home and home. I think is so much more fun this year. Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Miami, Alabama, Florida State, and Wisconsin. I mean, all these games are much more fun. Michigan, Oklahoma. And I'm looking forward to them all. But I'm going to be at that Florida State game. And I did a crossover with the host of Locked On Seminoles. And I said, are you going to the game? He said, I'm not going to Tallahassee at the end of August when it's going to be 9,006 degrees. And I was like, oh, well, you work for the Chamber of Commerce, do you? And but yeah, I'm going. So
we know there's no hot environment hot enough for Luke Robinson to go to. So
humidity is going to be up, and it'll be okay. Luke will be fine.
Looking forward to that one. Marler, which game catches your fancy?
I tell you what, I was looking at this the other day, and thank you for bringing that back up and assuming that I had not done my job, because you are correct, sir. No, I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought about it this way instead of just the games I'm most excited about. The game I'm most excited about is LSU at Clemson. The game that I think Jay is so spot on with this, the thing we're not talking enough about, Tennessee, Syracuse. It's even at the same time as Texas, Ohio State, which kind of sucks. Old people like me, Luke Robinson, I'm sure you're a part of this, no offense, but you remember probably pulling hard against Tennessee in that 1998 opener against Syracuse in the Carrier Dome way back when. I'll tell you this too. I think the games that I'm most interested in are the ones that can hurt the perception of the SEC the most are the ones we're not talking enough about, because Texas losing to Ohio State doesn't really move the needle. There'll be enough excuses made for Texas win or lose in that game, and I don't mean that in a negative way to Texas. I do, but also there will be enough meat on the bone left for them the rest of the schedule. They'll be fine. The game that I think from a perception standpoint that stands out the most is LSU, Clemson, and South Carolina, Virginia Tech, because South Carolina going into that Virginia Tech game. Listen, I haven't heard anything about Virginia Tech. I don't think anybody's talked about Virginia Tech this entire offseason. South Carolina opened up nearly a double-digit favorite, and you're going into a game where it's kind of a complete unknown that you have the target on your back for the first time. Listen, this is not only the first time in a decade South Carolina has been ranked going into the season, it's also the highest ranking in that coaches poll, number 13, the highest ranking they've had in a decade as well, which is kind of crazy. And the last thing I'll say about that LSU Clemson game, if Brian Kelly, somebody that lives in Baton Rouge now, he loses a 6th straight opener, and against that Clemson team on the road, that they are going to be very upset.
Is he getting excommunicated from the family?
Well, I mean, I think one reason why nobody's talking about Vitek like that is last year they were like top 3 in returning production going into the season, and they finished 6 and 7. So they were pretty trash because of that. And ever since then, no one's really got anything to say about them, even though they're bringing back a lot of production again. and it's still young. They're now more veteran in comparison to last year, but nobody's going to give them the respect until they actually show us that, hey, you're bringing back production. Can you show us the production on the freaking field first?
Right.
I think Marler brings up an interesting thought, and John and Corey will come to you in a second. But yeah, I mean, you talk about perception. Yeah, if Texas loses to Ohio State, it'll just be another one to pile on, because if LSU loses to Clemson, Virginia Tech beats South Carolina. Yes, I mean, it was the narrative week one out of last year. It'll be week one this year. The SEC's overrated if they come out with 3, 4, 5 losses on week one.
Brother, if that 3:30 game goes the way Tommy Castellanos is talking, I don't know if we'll have to stop doing the show.
You know, a secret nuclear bomb on that schedule, Mississippi State going to Southern Miss. Southern Miss got transferred all over from Marshall, the Sun Belt champions. That game can be scary, and Southern Miss is going to be up like you wouldn't even believe to play.
And it's the look-ahead game for Mississippi State, because the next week they got that traditional rival, Arizona State.
Historic rivalry there.
Historic.
Yeah.
John Miller, what you got?
Yeah, I was just going to say I love all of your all's takes, especially on the South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Steven brings up a great point. Ohio State, Texas is obvious. I don't need to make that case. I'm going to go back to Alabama and Florida State because I really want to see what Kalen DeBoer's squad looks like in year 2. And coming off a 2-10 season in Tallahassee, I really want to see what the Seminoles look like, too, because I have to admit I'm not the biggest believer in Thomas Castellanos. Let's see what it looks like. I'm very intrigued by this.
He plays pretty well in Doak Campbell.
Okay. Against the 2-10 Seminole team, yeah.
That one almost feels like if Bama wins 28-14, FSU and Norvell go, that's a victory for us. You know what I mean? Like they go, we kept it close or something like that.
The thing is, too, that the narratives against the SEC that'll be in play, that's the thing. Like, I'm not sitting here making excuses. I'm just saying we've seen it all offseason. So it's like, if that, we don't know what Florida State's going to be. If that's a 28-24 game, that is a huge black eye for Bama. My bad, Corey.
Corey, what's your game?
So different categories here for content purposes. South Carolina, Virginia Tech, because that's Vandy's next 2 opponents. Virginia Tech up first, and South Carolina right after that. As Chris knows, that I believe heavily in Vanderbilt's chances of beating South Carolina, and his listeners had some good opinions for me. But so I'm very intrigued in that one for content purposes and just kind of getting to know Vandy's next 2 opponents. I'm very, very intrigued in the Alabama-Florida State game for much of the reasons that y'all are, as far as like how is Florida State going to bounce back? Thomas Castellanos, can he back up his trash talk? Is Alabama for real this year? Syracuse, I'm going to be watching that game because I think it's going to be fun watching. Like, I'm a big fan, like you, Chris, of Fran Brown. I think he's a hell of a coach. And he's a Northeastern guy, I believe. So I think he feels like he's pretty at home at Syracuse, and he loves it up there. He loves that job. He loves that program, and I think he's going to have them fired up, and I'm ready to see kind of what they do against Tennessee. Of course, LSU Clemson's going to be a phenomenal matchup. That's probably going to be one of the best of the year. I think the Battle of Death Valley, who's got the real Death Valley. So I'm excited about that, but I'm glad South Carolina, Virginia Tech is on Sunday. That way I can that can kind of stand alone for me there. So
I'm pretty sure the real Death Valley's in California. Call me crazy.
Can I give you all one?
No, it's not, John. You lie.
I'll give you all one that nobody's going to talk about, but it's
Kentucky versus Toledo.
It's Marshall at Georgia. Like, this is a game that Georgia, if they
you're right for a reason.
Everybody expects they're going to win big.
Yeah, we're not talking about that one.
But if it's, let's just say it's 50-3. And Gunnar Stockton throws for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Defense is stifling. Nate Frazier runs for 200 yards. It'll Marshall, just kind of
a gutted Marshall.
Doesn't mean much to me. I gotta be honest.
I'm just saying it'll make you kind of go, okay, because let's face it, if they win 28-10, we're not going to have any what's wrong with Georgia?
That's
but if they just completely dominate, crush, suffocate Marshall, we'll go, oh, okay, Georgia looks like Georgia, and they're off and running, and let's see what they do.
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to.
Has changed you.
They're supposed to beat Marshall 50-3 That's what
I get it.
I get what you're saying, Gordy, and I'll tell you this too. People, Gunnar Stockton, if his name was Gunnar Stockton from Arizona, and he had blonde hair, everyone would be like, dude, this kid is a perfect 5-star recruit. Gunnar Stockton from Raven Gap, Georgia, driving that stupid old like F-150, not really moving the needle from a press standpoint nearly as much. And that's just a difference of where, listen, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Raven Gap, where he's from. That's where they filmed Deliverance. Not as sexy as Arizona. But I will also say, Nate Frazier, the thing you brought up, it's weird to me how little we're talking about some of these stars that Georgia has and that will break out. And we're just like this fall off of Georgia that people are pretending that's happening when they're 11-3. And I don't know if you guys remember this again. If you guys heard about Texas, they beat Texas twice. One time with Gunnar Stockton. It's crazy.
But on the other side, it took them 8 overtimes to get by Georgia Tech. They beat Kentucky by 1 point, 13-12. So there's been some of those games where you're like, what is Georgia doing? If they come out and just completely steamroll Marshall, will go, okay, Georgia looks okay. So
in Georgia Tech's defense, they did have an offensive coordinator that is Corey Burton's cousin.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
First I've heard of it.
Yep.
Will,
that's the truth. Yeah, Buster Faulkner is Corey's cousin.
I graduated with his little brother Todd,
That's
Corey.
awesome.
Yeah, just look at him.
He looks like a Burton.
By the way, I got to drop a play, too. If you watched Georgia Tech play recently, they're fun.
Well, Corey
they're
picked
awesome. Yeah.
Haynes King as his Heisman favorite. We'll discuss that coming up in just a second here. All right, guys, just a couple of minutes left here of the squad show, and thought it'd be fun here on this start of August to kind of go around the horn and give me, if you had to write on a piece of paper right now, I said, who do you think is going to win the Heisman Trophy for this upcoming season? You had to just write it down, put it in a safe, and store it away until December. Who would you write on that piece of paper? Jay, let's start with you.
I knew he was going to do me that way. I didn't want to be the one to go first, but it's okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put down John Mateer just because somebody told me not to do it. I'm 100% writing his name down. 3,100 yards passing, 800 yards rushing, 44 total touchdowns. I am sold on the idea. If he does the exact same thing and lead this team to double-digit wins, give me that Heisman.
Yeah, if he does the same thing that he did at Washington State against all the Pacific Northwest teams, I agree. Like, that transfers over the SEC. And listen, if they don't go 6-6 like they will, he's going to be right up there.
Wow. Shots fired. Love it.
That's tough.
Pac-2 champions.
Pac-2 champs.
Stephen
He
Willis.
said write it on a piece of paper, so I did.
Basically, I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik,
I
just because Clemson's probably going to win enough games to be in the race for the Heisman, and Klubnik's going to be getting all the press during that time because they're winning games. They're going to be a top 10 team. I think somebody outside the SEC wins the Heisman Trophy. I think Klubnik's the guy.
Stephen, I will say I had somebody last week making a case for Austin Simmons that if Ole Miss goes 10-2 and he throws for a ton, over 4,000 yards, that maybe Austin Simmons a dark horse. So
it's legitimate.
Just putting it out there. Luke Robinson, who you got?
Boy, I think I'm going to go with Garrett Nussmeier unless Twitter is correct and both of his legs fell off today.
That's unreal.
I think he got taken in like a helicopter to the Superdome or something for treatment. Yeah, he's like a corpse now or something. I don't know.
I'm going to go with Nussmeier, assuming he's not dead. I just feel like even if LSU, doesn't make the playoffs, I think they've got the two receivers they added are badass, and I think they're going to have to throw a lot. Maybe he's not going to be as good as Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels, but I think it's another shot for an LSU quarterback to win a Heisman.
Luke, I got to tell you, I've been to practices all week with him. Humble brag. I love what you're saying. 7-on-7, give him the Heisman now. The moment that offensive line has to block for him, it is not good.
That might help him. Well, as long as he doesn't die.
Yeah.
I think
or isn't already dead. Or what if he's already dead and he's out there throwing it as a ghost and people can't even see him anyway? You can stack up statistics. Can't see me.
You'd be like the Oscars when you win those awards posthumously, or they let's remember the fallen or whatever they do.
Yeah.
Gordy, you've lost control.
Marler, give me your Heisman.
Say nicely and say please, and I will. I mean, come on. Okay. Since I know that Corey already said Cade, and I know Stephen Willis already said Cade Klubnik, I think that's a really good pick as much as I hate it, because I think that you are going to see that final week of the season between Cade Klubnik and Lenore Sellers. I think both those guys can end up in New York, and that is going to be one for the ages for those two offenses. The thing I keep thinking going back to was Cade, like that offense he had last year, they're only going to get better. The receivers are still very, very young. Offensive line has been their one detriment, it seems like, over the last several years in terms of development. That seems to be shored up. They're going to be very good against a weak schedule. Let me give you a dark horse about a team that could win 10 games. And I watched last year have the Heisman. I think he won the Heisman. Didn't Cam Ward win the Heisman?
No. Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter won the Heisman.
Oh, yeah, it's stupid. But wasn't Cam Ward there? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. He was number 2.
Covered the sport for a job. Look at me go.
Wasn't Genty
Carson Beck last year played 9 teams ranked in the top 50 of pass defenses. He played I don't even remember how many ranked opponents. I think it was like 8. You look at what Miami did last year with Cam Ward going from Washington State to Miami. He played 2 teams in the top 50 overall in pass defense, some of the worst defenses in the country. That schedule that he was going to against from Athens down to Coral Gables is going to get much, much easier. He's also in year 8 of him being quarterback. He doesn't have a girlfriend, so he's got to be a little bit more focused. Somebody takes his Snapchat away, that kid is going to be in New York, and he's going to throw over 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns this year. Mark my words.
It's a good pick. I like it. John Miller, who you got?
Can I just clean something up real quick? Last year it was Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Dylan Gabriel, then number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward. But you know what? Even though receivers almost never win the Heisman, it has happened before, including Devontae Smith in 2020. I'm actually going Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State. And if you're going to get – because I think he's the best player in the country. That's just my opinion. And then if you're going to give me a long shot, who else I write down here? Yes, the 14-year-old Ryan Williams, 40-1 odds over at FanDuel Sportsbook. I think that's a pretty good freaking long shot for an Alabama team that is projected to be one of the elite teams in the country. If Ty Simpson is okay, or it's the young kid, help me out here, Luke. But regardless.
One of my children.
I'm just saying, Ryan Williams isn't too far behind Jeremiah Smith. I think those guys are really special talents. So, give me Jeremiah Smith to win it. Give me Ryan Williams as a long shot.
I like that.
Corey, real quick, give us your case for Klubnik.
Real quick, Corey.
Real quick. Okay.
Quickly,
Cade Klubnik is going to throw for 1,000,000 yards. He's going to win the ACC, get their team into the playoffs, win a bunch of games, and I think he's just going to be undeniable for that. And there you go.
Can I give you my real selection though, Gordy? Can I give you my real pick?
Real quick.
Okay, real quick. My real pick that I think will surprise a lot of people for the Heisman, Mekhi Hughes over there at Oregon, the transfer from Tulane. Remember, he rushed for 1,300 yards as a true freshman, 1,400 yards as a true sophomore, and now he's over there at Oregon. There's a good chance they could try to push him to run for like 1,600 yards because they don't know what Dante Moore is going to be able to do. If he does something like that and gets himself over 20 touchdowns, there's a very good chance he will be in New York, and he may fight his way in to win that bad boy.
As we wrap up here, I will say on the Heisman, it used to be best player on the best team. The last 3 years, Caleb Williams at USC, Jaden Daniels at LSU, and Travis Hunter at Colorado. None of those teams were best team in the country.
That's a really good point.
Look, pick a 10-win, not even a 9-win team. It's not crazy. It could be somebody who's really special on one of those teams. Mm-hmm. That said, I'm going with Arch because the media hype is all going to be around him. If he's just pretty good, they're going to vote him, and he's going to, he'll be there. Thank you guys for checking out the SEC squad this week. Follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC show, and I'll be covering you with Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Thanks, guys.
We go 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one. It requires a ridiculous amount of stats.
Locked On Vandy serving up hot takes year round.